Guruve Gaur Chandra Radhika Etadali Krishna Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpa Truviyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat Pranam devotees. So I just wanted to share something that we discussed on our Zoom class yesterday. There were many topics that came up on the class, but this was one thing that came up, and I thought it would be worthwhile to do a brief sharing for discussion and contemplation regarding the 9 limbs of Bhakti. So of course there are actually 64 angas of Bhakti. Those 64 angas of Bhakti have been distilled to 9 things: Shravan, Kirtan, Vishnu Smaran, Padana Sevanam, Archam Vandanam, Dasya Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. And those have been further distilled to 5 things, which are Sadhu Sangha, Bhagavat Sravan, Nam Kirtan, Mathuravas, and Shri Murtaya Shraddhaya Sevan. Those, Taramaje Sarvasestra Nam Kirtan. Among those 5, Nam Kirtan is the most important. Dandavat Sadhana Siddha Prabhu. So that is the most important thing, which is Nam Kirtan. But in the kram, or in the progression of the 9 angas of Bhakti, Sravan is spoken of first. So if Kirtan is the most important element, why is Shravan mentioned first? So I explained yesterday that unless a person hears from Sadhu Guru and has an understanding through Shabda Brahman, through transcendental sound vibration, what is to be done in Kirtan, how can you actually do Kirtan? So Sravan means to have heard and understood Shabda Brahman. Shabda Brahman then becomes manifest as Kirtan. You understand? So what you hear, that becomes manifest as Kirtan. Without hearing, Kirtan is not possible. So therefore, even those persons who give lectures, those persons who perhaps do Kirtan in terms of musical performance, because again, Kirtan can only come from the digestion of Shabda Brahman heard from Sadhu Guru, right? Then it becomes Kirtan. Other than that, it can be musical performance, and certainly there's some Sukriti even in the musical performance, or in speaking about Krishna even academically, as long as there's no aparad, right? But we have the verse, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labdya Namerasa Nahabusutrena. So no material facility, whether it be great learning, Medasa, Bahushrutena, or having academically looked at all kinds of sastra, Nayam Atma Pravachanena, being able to speak with erudition, none of those things, void of having received Shabda Brahman from a sadhu, like in the verse, Satam Prasanga Mamaviya Samvira. Hearing the samvad of Satam, sadhus, is what gives rise to Swarup Shakti. Mamavirya here means the wonderful activities is what's translated. But hearing these wonderful activities means hearing Shabda Brahman imbued with Swarup Shakti. Means hearing transcendental sound. Jiva Goswami Pad mentions the real meaning of the word hearing is Shravan Dwaram Anubhuti Bhavati. It means that when you hear something, the manifestation of the substance of that thing attaches to the chitta or consciousness. This is really hearing. And I'll give an example. If you hear someone speak a foreign language, you'll hear the sound vibration. But because it's not understood, it's not digested, it doesn't appear on the consciousness or even in intellectual facility as something concrete and digestible. You understand? Therefore, the mind can't truly, because the mind's function is acceptance and rejection, and then actions take place on the basis of that. If you don't understand what was being said, the mind will not accept or reject because it hasn't understood what it's accepting or rejecting. You understand? So in the same way, a person can hear even Shabda Brahman, transcendental sound, and it will have an effect. But if the person's own chitta is Maika Avidan, means it is covered by material energy or material influence, then the knowledge will come through in one of four ways. Either as partial knowledge, contracted knowledge, corrupted knowledge, or inverted knowledge. So what that means is that when somebody hears even Shabda Brahman, they may only get particles of the knowledge. They may not be able to understand completely. Therefore, when they try to do kirtan, right, which is to speak on that, they will speak without having an actual clear picture of things because they only have pieces of information. Similarly, in contracted knowledge, it means that something has come, but the nature of what was heard has not flowered or bloomed in the consciousness and given an actual realization. Therefore, a person will speak, but it will be contracted to their understanding because the full picture is not present, and therefore they cannot express the full picture. And of course, corrupted knowledge means that knowledge which is like deformed. So it means they will speak something and it will be not the actual substance of something. There'll be some mixture of some kind of tattva or some truth, but it will be corrupted by speculation or conjecture, etc. And inverted knowledge means, an example, someone will hear about the sweetness of Krishna's Ras Lila, but they will understand that this is an indication that the nature of human beings is to enjoy multiple partners. You understand? So I'm giving an example. Of course, that has many features: corrupted knowledge, partial knowledge, so many things. But especially it inverts the truth, because the actual truth is that Bhagavan Sri Krishna is Akila Rasamrita Murti and the entitled person to the enjoyment of Ras Lila. All others can be servants to that Ras Lila. This is the actual thing. But to invert that conception, to think that it is a symbol that because, for instance, we are parts and parcels of God, what God does, we're meant to also do. So that's an example of inverting the knowledge. I'm just giving you an example. So in this way, four kinds of misconceptions can come, even from hearing, but either not hearing from the right source or hearing while the consciousness is still so much imbued with material energy, right? Therefore, to really hear, Jiva Goswami is mentioned, Pratamam Nam Naha Shravanam Artam Apeksham. One first has to hear continuously Sri Nam, because Sri Nam has power. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti. Among the powers in Hari Nam is Asesha Aga Haram Vidu, the power to remove unlimited sins and material influences. So by hearing Hari Nam continuously, it gives rise to purification, Suddha Antakaran, right? Pratamam Nam Naha Shravanam, Suddha Antakaranam Artam Apeksham. It purifies the Antakaran, means the chitta or consciousness or psychological faculty. And in this way, when the consciousness is pure, then it allows the ability of Shabda Brahman to come in and manifest in the consciousness the reality of what's being spoken about. So this is also explained. Tvam Bhakti Yoga. What is this verse? Tvam Bhakti Yoga. Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavitam Aritsaroja Eshe Shrut Ikshitapant. So Shrut Ikshitapant means like on the path of seeing through hearing. Shruta Ikshitapant. the path of hearing, and through that hearing to see. So actually hearing gives realization, gives darshan in the consciousness of a person who's hearing properly. You understand? So this is the actual meaning of Shravan. Shravan means to be able to hear something, Shruti Ikshitapan. To be able to, when you hear that thing, to have it manifest on your consciousness. Now, the reason I'm bringing up seeing through hearing is because we have the idea that darshan, or seeing something, is only a visual phenomenon. But it is not a visual phenomenon only. In spiritual life, hearing is as valuable a darshan as seeing. You understand? To hear Nam is to realize Nam. You understand? To hear Nam is to realize Nam. So you don't have to see with the physical eyes. When the nature of the hearing becomes absolute, it produces then darshan that becomes inclusive of visual darshan. But the actual darshan is first done in hearing. Shruta Ikshitavant. You understand? So the first darshan is actually Shruta Ikshita, or hearing. So Sravan, when you have heard, then it is possible at that time that what you hear, digested in the chitta, then manifests itself as kirtan. So kirtan is Sravat Bhavena Kirtan. Sravat Bhavena means a bhav, or all bhavs mixed together. They manifest as kirtan. You understand? Those bhavs are coming from having heard. I just described, hearing that Shabda Brahman from a sadhu creates the darshan in the chitta. That darshan manifests as kirtan. And when that cycle of hearing and chanting becomes continual and is pure, it manifests as smaran. Because the word smaran doesn't mean just casual remembrance. Smaran means when the nature of the inner darshan becomes a continuum in your consciousness, that is called smaran. When the Nam, Roop, Gun, Parikar, Sevan, Leela of Bhagavan become a continuum in your chitta due to real hearing and real chanting, that then becomes known as smaran. Understand? So smaran sometimes is described to happen in stages. Stage of artam, or contemplation, right? So artam, adharan, dhyan, dhruvanusmriti, and samadhi. So these are stages of smaran, right? So artam, or sometimes dharan, means to understand and contemplate the meaning. You understand? Sometimes it's divided into two things. Artam, what is the meaning of this thing? Dharan, contemplating that meaning. That dharan turns to dhyan, meditation on the elements within what is meant. You understand? Then comes dhruv anusmriti, a continuum of that kind of remembrance, leading to absorption or samadhi. Understand? So this is called smaran. So Shravan, Kirtan, smaran. Archan. Archan means the manifestation within the body of acting on what has been realized in Shravan, Kirtan, and Smaran. Acting that process out, especially prior to the development of realization of Ruchi, right? So Ajata Ruchi. One will perform Archan. I think some weeks ago I gave service to Harikatha at our temple here and mentioned what is Archan. Archan is the process of physically manifesting according to rule and regulations service to Thakurji. That is called Archan. So Das Upachara, 16 articles of worship, doing according to everything with mantra properly, at the proper time, proper cleanliness standard, everything. This is called Archan. Right? So, Shravan Kirtan Vishnu Swaranam, Archanam Vandanam. In doing Archan, one is expressing by action their desire for a particular outcome. To express that outcome is called Vandanam or prayers. This Vandanam, because it is not mature perhaps in our own consciousness, the mercy or kripa of the Vandan or Stav and Stuti or prayers done by realized souls is made available to us. Understand? Therefore, we can recite Stav and Stuti like we do in the morning in Guru Ashtakam. Shankshara Dhava Navalila Lok, etc. This is the manifestation of the realization of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, and we're in Anugatya to our Guru Vagas, taking this Guru Ashtakam as our Vandan to Sri Guru, to realizing Sri Guru, while doing Guru Seva. Understand? Same to Takaji. So many Stav and Stuti are there. So this is the expression of our aspiration, right, for the particular goal that we want to accomplish. So, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, and Sakyam. I'm going to explain these two things together. So, Dasyam means, according to Rupa Goswami Pad, he's written, two kinds of consideration. One is Dasyam in the category of prescribed duties related to Varnashram Dharma. To offer those to the Lord is also called Dasyam. But Jiva Goswami Pad, Rupa Goswami Pad, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, and Bhakti Rasmina Sindhu, and their commentaries, they say this is really not the deeper meaning of the word Dasyam here. But those manifestations of service born from previous impressions in Bhakti and offered to the Lord is really the mood of Dasyam. But that idea of Dasyam is also predominated by Maryada Marg or Vidhi Marg, means sort of the worship of Bhagavan in awe and reverence. So this is the meaning here of Dasyam. Sakyam means when there's consideration of two things. One, either in a mood of deep intimacy and trust in the Lord, and the example of Draupadi is given in the commentaries, or especially in the mood of considering that my ideal of worship is to worship God with Visramba or intimacy, like Brijabasis. Another example is quoted there in Bhakti Rasmina Sindhu, Ahobhagyam, Ahobhagyam, Nanda Braja Vajokasam, glorifying Nanda Maharaj and Brijabasis, how Krishna is playing with them like in their own intimate family member. So this mood of intimacy is also there. So Dasyam can also be seen as Vaidhi Marg, and the indication of Sakyam here could indicate Raganuga Marg. This is in the commentary. Understand? Atmanivedanam means the point at which our bhajan has become mature. And in the maturation of that bhajan, we realized our Atma, and now we can do Atmanivedanam. You understand? So it is the conclusion of the 9 processes. But we have to take, and I'll conclude with this, the teaching of Prahlad Maharaj. None of the Angas of Bhakti, and especially Prahlad Maharaj quoted these 9 Angas of Bhakti, Shravan, Kirtan, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parana, Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, Iti Pumsapita Vishnu, Bhaktaschinna Valakshana, Kriyate Bhagavati Adha, Tanmanye, Dinam, Uttamam. They can't be done until they're Saranagati. Iti Pums Arpita Vishnu. Unless they're Saranagati, which is the doorway as well as the first Anga of Bhakti, because Guru Parasraya means Iti Pums Arpita Vishnu or Saranagati. So there's both the doorway and the first Anga of Bhakti. Without doing that, you cannot perform these Angas of Bhakti, or the efficacy of these Angas of Bhakti will not fully manifest. So having become Saranagat and performing these Angas of Bhakti with understanding, like I was just speaking about, this creates efficacy in the practice, and it also gives illumination as to what we're doing in the practice of these 9 angas, as well as the 5 angas I mentioned earlier, like Nam, Kirtan, Sadhu Sangha, Bhagavat Shravan, Maturavas, and Sri Murtaya Shradaya Sevan. Okay? So I just wanted to kind of go over that and give a brief overview because we spoke about it on Sunday. I may speak more about it on our evening phone conference class tonight. I think it's an important topic because we base our basic idea of what is bhakti practice on these 9 angas of bhakti, right? Of course, I mentioned 64 angas have been distilled to 9, distilled to 5, and chief among them is kirtan. And I explained earlier, the reason is because kirtan indicates that Shravan has already been done, or it can't be kirtan. You can't do kirtan if Shravan has not been there. You understand? So, kirtan is the most important because kirtan is the completion of a cycle. When there's Shravan and kirtan, it gives rise to smaran. And then that gives rise to acting according to constant remembrance of one's, especially sambandha gyan in relation to Bhagavan. And this is how we actually genuinely practice bhakti. All right, my Dandavat Pranam, Vanchikal Padruvisha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha, Jai Radhe Radhe.